Welcome to this video where we'll talk about the movie Skyscrapers. We will begin by exploring the movie's storyline, summarizing its plot, and discuss the cast and characters. Then we will take a closer look at the film production details and box office performance. Finally, we will share review and audience reaction to give you a well-rounded perspective. Let's get started. Skyscraper Review. The rock towers over and in front of the clouds. A silly yet watchable action movie sees the world's most bankable star try to save his family from a building full of fire, terrorists, and the clunky dialogues. When the first footage from the skyscraper was the launch earlier this year, most online conversation revolved around the staggering incredulity of the trailer many shoot. Diane, The Rock, Jason making and the Ethan Hunt equally from a crime into the broken window of a building. Everyone from math professor to meme makers criticize the physics, and even Johnson snipefully responds on Twitter. But for me, the most unlike element was the inclusion of the Johnson himself. How on earth does the versatile stunt actor find the time to headline so many demon movies? Does he sleep? He has undergone a multiple city, the experimental cloning producer, because in the last 7 months they managed to game a winning 962 million worldwide from a belted Jamian sequel and the Tron argue adapting Rampage into a stumping 444M global smash, not to mention that a 4th season of his HBO show Bless stars next month. He is easily the most bankable star working in Hollywood today, as well as one of the most likable, but can his star power extend to 3 box office hits in such a short period of time? Returning with the director Jason Marshall, Trevor who used his the star charisma to 11 the mid-core action comedy Journal Intelligence, Johnson play former FBI hostage rescue team leader, war veterans and the skyscraper securities exercer. Will Sawyer yes working in China on the payroll, the terrorists and the safety building in Hong Kong, while also living there with the wife Sarah and 2 kids. But when a fire-star Steve finds himself framed by terrorists and you can probably guess where this is going. Earlier tracking has to suggest that Skyscraper will become the year's biggest original hit, given that it's a real film with the $100 million plus budget that is not sequel, a robot, a remark or based on a TV show, a comic, a video game, a twist or the discard piece of food. Even Jason himself subtweets this, settling it at the sum of the sorts copy under Q but using the word original in the same sentence as the skyscrapers feel ill fighting given that it's such a shameless regarding of so many other films. Even Universal has refund. This is in the marketing with the poster mimicking both Die Hard and the Turning in Fun. Right from the opening scenes, we are looked into familiar box taking terrorists. The film kicks off with our hero experience, some standing characters building trauma, though in a somewhat unique touching, leaves our hero with a leg. While it's a far cry from the actual representation for the attempts on the screen, it's a small step in the right direction. Elsewhere, the script falls to make any real indoors toward that the much to hide originally even detail in the first act is a clumsy dropped breadcrumb to be the used later on. A joke about the Campbell's character being terrible with the technology, a kid's anthem, a heady terrorist attraction high in the building. It's all screenwriter 100. Screenwriter 101. While his heroic sequel is hard to downplay, Johnson does a sole job in the intelli scenes of the convince us that he is not able to saver he would accept. He nervous valuable and when he entirely throw into the action, unsure on his feet. But this is shown footage and the shift to all out action figure stunning is all. To sudden sphere anxiety, fading anxiety deposit being faced with a series of the general impossible mission, which bring us to much memed cramp jump. It's It's as silly as one would accept, but it also and the indefinitely guilt pleasure and coupled with the another heart-plucking vertigo in dancing action sequence. There is where the film works, beat, logic and anything resembling real work. Psycho are not elements one should accept, but there are tonal awareness during these set pieces that suggests filmmakers don't care, with the film rarely being presents anything but the escape. Yes, there a lack of the snappy lines. The kindly that usually stares a film like this is into some sort of the trash classic terrorist, and we are stuck with a lumbering, substandard arrow villain divorced of the Alan remark flair in Die Hard. He stuck with the dim, witty lines such as the clever boys like you always think they can be the clever, and an insanely convoluted we are sticking with a labyrinth substat arrow villain divide of the Annan remark flair in Die Hard with the dim-witted lines such as the clever boys like you always think then can be clever and an instantly conflicted motivation that I could not explain to you if my family were also being held at the gunpoint, set in the China, yet film in the Vancouver with a sizable Asian cast on paper skyscrapers seems to be one of the here Western blockbuster to actually use its location and the actors as intentional elements unlike so many other big budget films that have crowbarred them into make a quick buck overseas. But appearance can be decisive because as the film rattled toward its the final, then Asian characters don't really have much of an impact on the plot, and the heroic in that final act are led entirely to the westerns. At one point, Joseon characters remark, "This is stupid," a line that led to knowing laughter from the audience. But it also mostly entertaining, thanks to Joseon and a plot that movie fast enough to retain our attention yet without the enough the originally too. We have a small favor to ask. Tens of the millions have placed their trust in the Guardian's fearless journalism since we started publishing 200 years ago, turning to us in a moment of the crisis, uncertainly, solidarity and the hope. More than 1.5 million sports from 180 countries now power us financially, keeping us open to all and fairly independent. Will you make a difference and the sport to us? Unlike many others, the Guardians has no shareholders. Unlike many others, the Guardian has the no shareholders and no billionaires owner, just the determination and the passion to deliver. Unlike many other people, the Guardian has no shareholders and no billionaires owner, just the determination and the passion to deliver high-impact global reporting always free from the commercial or the political influence. Reporting like this is vital for the democracy, for fairness and the demand better from the powerful, and we provide all this for free. For the everyone to read, we do this because we believe in information equality. Greater number of people can keep track of the global events shaping our worlds, understand their impact on the people and the communities, and become movie review. The Skyscraper is the harmless fun and an entertaining throwback to the era of the better action movie, but it's let down by a bland script and the villain meaning it will be forgotten about in a matter of weeks. Plot: former FBI hostage rescue team leader and the USA war veteran Will Sawyer now acts as security for the skyscrapers he owns assists in the China when he finds the tallest safety building in the world suddenly ablaze and he been framed for it. A wanted man on the run. Will must find those responsible, clear his name, and the shadow rescue his family, which is trapped inside the building above the fire line. Review. It's night's time that Skyscraper is getting released today on the 13th anniversary of the Die Hard, the movie that inspired it. But can it hold a candle to the seminal action classic? Of course not, but a throwback to the action of old. It's entertainingly driving. It's the day 9, the Rock Jason movie, so you know it's going to be amazing, but his sheer charisma carried the pictures. I like how his character, Will Sawyer, was and the attempt, which is something we rarely see in an action movie, so this gave it a different dynamic. The fact that he was a complete hero that will do anything for his family proved that even you if I have disabled you can still kiss ass. Still kicks ass. Never capable play with the wife in the pair and although starting off as the potential baddies, they never really do anything with her and she spends a lot of time waiting to be safe. The best addition to the cast was the always cool Beyond Manvo has a sizable role in the AI Paul type's character as a cop who believe Will is not a bad guy. I saw Skypers in the 3D which as you all know I am not a big fan of but it definitely the way to see the film as it really adds high attitude action scenes. Its will space and the never boring keeping the action tight and the deposit mostly using CG, the visual are pretty impressed even if you don't get a genuine scenes of the pearl. When the film really falls down in the script, even if this is meant to be a nod to Die Hard, they probably should have watched it first to realize what the great dialogues and the character it had. To this day we all know we Hans Gruber is and he still stand out one of the greatest villain of all times. Curious Botha was forgotten about by time we walked out our theater and made title impact as the main villain. Die Hard had so many quotable one-lines and the John McClane was such a memorable characters but Skyscrapers, like most action movie today, has little that you will remember or the quite at a later date. They really should have read my action movies essential list from the other day to understand what required for an awesome action flick. Deposits links in later entries of the Die Hard series. Jason McClane was the intentionally a normal guy forced into extraordinary circumstance to save his wife. The action was believable and there was a genuine sense of the third as the head cried and they could have died at the any time. In Skyscraper, Wolf for Deposit having a flawless legs seems to be superhuman and there are seems to be superhero and there are survival moments where you can only push suspense of the disabled so far. It's surprisingly valiant for the PG-30 rated flick and yet it could have used a bit more bluntly as I never understood Blur's fight scenes. It is still quite thrilling at times with a few money shoots making it worth watchable on the big screen and it's certainly better than A Good Day to Die Hard. The most innovation ideas was the mirror scenes which is the foreshadow early on so that you can a climatic battle with the take place there. You also get a good scene of the scale when we get to see the Guardian during the building to before all hell break loose. The distant elements split it more from the Die Hard and are a tip of the head to varying inform the personality They were some of my favorite scenes. Steve Jablong's score is the decent but the forgettable like the movie in journal so there are no turns you will humming afterwards. Oval Skyper is the everything you are accepting it to be the with the Dwayne Johnson providing once again he likable hero but the really needs to start working with the people who can write a action movie properly as the dialogues and the villain are totally forgettable. You will enjoy it for what it is and there are some impressive action scenes but you will never be in awe of anything on screen and it never comes close to the film. It's the refreshing. As the age of movie star gives away to the age of the brand, one man stand as the toastic as his name implies. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the massive charismatic here, Wister turned heroic actor mostly success as a movie star for the reason for are not too complicated when you look closely. He is a living special effect and P. His public reason is a carefully managed brand in and of itself. It's second cynical. It probably is. I don't necessarily mean that as a slam though pro-vesting though himself. There a power to the slumming and the relatable that can overcome absurding and speak to an audience of people who enjoy simple pleasure in their action movie or action-packed stage show. Joseon villains are immoral, selfish prick who coast to success on their looks, strength, and the charisma. Get smart down. His heroine trying to have black-colored roots. Maybe they are doing the work of the unseen hero like the rescue workers, or they are dealing with the deep internal conflict that can be pushed through pain against central intelligence, or it could even be a little of both. Guardian Kang, even in his big franchise role in the Fast and the Furious movie, the angry that runs through hobbies is implied to be as much of a character flaws as it is a point of the attraction. One of the subtitle takeaway of his work is that physical strength and talent is notable the be all and all. It's how you use that the talent, and it's often what inside your head that gets you. Given Joseon's struggle with the depression, which he been upfront about recently, it is not hard to see the genuine place where this is all comes from. The part of why so-called brand works for him. Unlike many action heroes, there does not appear to be much to be the throw. He know what he looks like. He know people like seeing him beat ass or get his ass beat, and he does his level best to use the platform. He has to put something positive into the world. Beyond that, he is a damn good actor when he need to be. He puts in the work on set by all accent, and while it's been a minute since he's taken something like South Hell Tales, he open to experimental under the right circumstance. Skyscraper is not an the experiment, and the lead's not for him. It's a mashup of the Die Hard and the Tonight in from that. Mark Water director reason Marshall Throper attempts to a serious action movie after making his bones in the comedy with the Dog Bell. A true underdog story where are the millionaires and the central intelligence. He tried drama once before with an adaptation of the Michael Gabon, The Mystery of the Pittsburgh. The Mystery of the Pittsburghs, but I have not seen it and I don't know anyone who has. It's a good example of how Jason Brandt works with the most any other actor in the lead. This will probably sound boring, but Jason's name carries the expectation of the something that at the very latest comes right from the heart, or as close as it can be. This much money is in play. It does, and the good blast Trumper and the Joseon it almost works. The humans hook that Joseon make his bones on his there in the trailer. He playing Will Sawyer, a small-time security consultant with a short action movie name who happens to be the short one leg. One might presents he did something heroic and he paid the price, but even with his clear conversations, he does not quite feel full, making his emotion journalism all about pulling his scenes of self back together in order to save his family from the terrorists who have inflated the state-of-the-art high-rise he working on and set in on fire of the reason we don't know. Turn out it's a lot more complicated than we are introduced to Will in a flashback to 10 years prior as a member of the FBI elite hostage rescue team called to assist local PD after a man has taken his family. Turn out it's a lot more complicated than that. We are introduced to Will in a flashback to 10 years prior as a member of the FBI elite hostage rescue team called to assist local PD after a man has taken his family hostage. Will and team branch and they find the man holding his young son, seemingly under name. Will talks the prep down, the prep puts down his son. The promptly denotes the bomb waste he apparently been wearing this full time. Now we can get into issue of the technical plausibility. I don't hear wood branch without the at it and the quiet background cheek, and given the Soundberg setting and the repair, straight out the criticize of the father such a cheek would likely suggest that the explanations could. Now we can get into issue of the technical plenary. I don't hear would branch without at least a quick background check, and given the servant setting and the deposit stern out criticize of the father, such a check would like suggest that the explanations and the somehow be in play. Add in the officer down on the scenes, and it's get pretty hard to believe that Hart would not light the guy up on the side. So in his arm on the no, forgiving that. However, it's a dark, brutal start for a Dwayne Johnson movie. He does not just fail, he fails nearable women, and the children are dead. Tremors are the scare. The empty space below his knee is not just feels. Incompletion is an eventual reminder of just how badly he messed it up. Even his family is a circumstant reminder. His eventually wife Sarah is the surgeon he saved his life, literally and figuratively. She introduced looking tenderly upon Will, her head framed by the halo of a struggle lights. It's not subtitle, but this movie is not too interested and the subtitle. It runs a crispy 102 minutes, and the trouble does not have the time or the state hand required to paint in the fine stalks. Frankly, such a hand is not missed here. Trouble smart enough to give Sarah stuff to do beside be a trophy for the hero, making her cool under pressure, overstrength and the more than able to hold her own in a crisis like this one, given such a character's compatible step by the reminding me why she was such a great leading lead for the screen series. Why she was such a great leading lady for the screen series. Beyond that, she got excellently chemistry with the Johnson. Hold her on in the criticize like this one, given such a character's capable step on, reminding me why she was such a great leading lady for the screen series. Beyond that, she got excellent chemistry with the Johnson. Consider that the film, striving from the beauty, goes right from the Will and the Sarah first meeting to be the present day, where they have two kids, MC Kenny Rebirth, Noah Cottrell, grown enough to have their own fairly mature responsibility. It's be hard to shallow with a strong bond between Jason and the Campbell, and the connection they broadly not only implies that they feel head over heels for each other, but that there a whole other movie to be had about their courtship. Of course, that movie is not an action movie and it's therefore not relevant to our instant, but between the speed at which the family came together and become obsessed yet not improper mulligans, we get enough of the scenes, that journey, and where it's will emotionally he knows the somebody who misses the action of the heart. He bleeds only for his family now, than with the dead, perhaps more than with the risk of the occasion death. Again, if you can put aside the questionable nature of the hostage situation that went bad and the start will on this path, it's honestly sold first act for the action movie. There's some clanky observations that hold it back. Clanky in the sense of how observations it is that the information we are being fed will come back into play later on. But it's got a strong main characters in Will. Will's film, and he set up for a powerful Christers. Survivable is a backhanded word to describe the second act, but the Valentine tends to be the hardest player to get right, and the Trooper got some tricks up his sleeves to keep things interesting. He got at giving random marks, lighter personality, and the quick that make them seem bigger than they actually are, making it all the more surprising when they are randomly bumped off. It's a slight addition that he gives himself in his script, but it kept me on my toes, wondering where this was the going. Furthermore, there Johnson crying the whole things he can turns on the charisma and make lines. Hack in blue collar wisdom. You can't solve a problem with the duct tape. You are not using enough duct tape. Feel almost like Johnson MC Kellen one-liners, but they can also protect a vulnerable and fear in the moments where it's the count as the disabled, Campbell back him up well, as do the young actors playing their kids. But there are also soul trends from the Pabo, Shadoral China Can, and the Brion Manor forced here. More precisely, however, tuber set pieces are the plus. Will despair entry into the trailer Skyscraper. The Pearl is the highlights generally throwback experience in a comedy survive him. They'll hear as they track. His scenes like the gags start with a weird promise that sets up a problem for the hero to solve. Him have caught up with the crazy but the published solution to the problem they throw in a hat each with a crazy but the publishable solution to that problem, then throw in a hat each or two that forces the hero to improve even the cry solution on the fly. Comedy tough, trouble how to piece those scene and the times to hit each. And will I am not ready to hail the arrival of a few action talent just yet. I am more than happy to see if he can blind on these. Unfortunately, the film probably start to present themselves in the second act as much as I wondered where the film was going when the characters I thought would be the important started dropping like foils. The characters that they rose up in their place promise that is not going anywhere worthwhile. Korean both Ronaldo Mere Atomic Blonde, the comments. It's apparently intimated dating and the visions at the late villain, but he about as interesting as twist. His late henchwomen at least as a look, but the neither one of them as a strong relationship or the parallel to art heroes. Nor do I get any sense of a unique, originally through going through their heads. Brother Just and the Akol and I is just like breeding people. It's not that it can work, but if they are not going to enhance the emotional conflict that the being of the movie set up, they should at least be fun to watch. That all feels the astonished, disappointed of the third act. To his credit, it's fair. Trouble play of the metaphor so servants that I almost wanted through him. Made of the cash like the one Elmi crown through the spider in the goldfields. Beside that, you have got the rival of the word brother was trying to do it. Involves nullifying a fail-safe that as soon as this paint set in the motion, most reasonable people would be probably active and you are got the final shootout which take place in what I can only describe as a high-tech house of mirror. It's something that is sound cool on the paper, but it plastic is just confusing and lead to be a bunch of you think I am over here but actually I am over here gigs that leaves you with no concept of the scene's choreography. Chad Cleese barely pulled this off in John Wick 2. Reason Marshall Truber is not Chad's leaks. This the unsatisfied action scenes led to an unsatisfied climax that the ops to win that with the cuts tickets over an emotional recocking that led to Trevor overplaying his hand to deliver and the overworth understand criticize. It's Joseon brand that justifies their film extents and it's the Joseon talent alongside comparable that makes it easy and even fun to set through. Deposit it boring alongside antagonists and the blow leading. It's like that Jason Brand will run out of the power one day, not necessary for and reason within his control. Movie like the Skyscraper for and reason within his control. Movie like Skyscraper might not. Antagonist and the blonde lady. It's like that the Jason brand will run out of the power one day, not necessary for any reason within his control. Movie like the Skyscraper might not damage his brand, but it's not going to be the among with the ones he remember for. And that's a pretty directive as it is. It's still well intentional and for about 45 minutes there it was no trick to something special. Cinema from this patch is an independent publication dedicated to the creation of the platform for the authentic media lovers to share their thoughts on the cinema. Your support helps keep us doing what we do, and if you are a subscriber to us on the Patreon, you will dread early success in review. Be there to early access to review before they go public alongside Excellency's piece, our writers. The signature permutational image of the skyscraper, the last Dwayne Johnson summer extra average features the chimistic blockbuster star hanging from a soaring buildings by only his left hands. His wedding ring gleams prominently in the photography, illuminated by the deadly blaze that the raising all around him. The right draws our attention as powerfully as the earnings intentionally in his eyes, a reminder that, not unlike the Fast and the Furious, function in which Jason figures so prominently, the story is all about family, mainly though it's a mindless mash-up of Die Hard and the throwing in Furt. Just intense enough to provide a much needed divisions, just lightweight enough to make you forget about it soon after it over. It's not exactly good per se, but it does what it set out to die in the terms of putting us on edge, which make it successful. But writer-director Ravenson Thurber has attempted Chromatic combinations of the making you feel good about bravely and the reluctance while also making you feel nothing about the clothless bodies that get blondes to bite in a aliens of the atomic gunfire. Many people die needlessly in this PG-30 spectre in the name of the thriller maybe. Character development. Cardia of the criminals who take over a Hong Kong high-rise. The trail structure in the world. 3 times the size of the Empire State Building, all clearly singularly bad, having them burst into people, office and obliterate them internally. Wish the camera stayed away from the bloodshed per MPAA guidelines fill the graduations. You are not here to think, though you are here to have fun, and the skyscrapers does indeed provide that in its many rising and death deficient action sequence. It's the connective tissue between the drawing stunt the family, tissue between the drawing stunt that the filmacy. A flashback to 10 years ago, Johnson Will Sawyer is a highly trained Marine and the FBI agent who in charge of a hostage negotiation that goes horribly wrong. Another instance of the playing characters in that mind of the jarring, over-the-top violence, having lost his left leg below the knee in that explosive incident, will now survive as a security consultant. His latest job has taken him, his wife Sarah, and their twins to Hong Kong, where he must analyze the safety of the parallel before it opens, a shining self-contained city stitching 200 plus stories into the clouds. It's the brainchild of the billionaire Zhao Long Ji, characters and the around and they provides painfully, all of which will matter at some point later. Delling the building many high teach figures, not for long though. Truber is not the really inside in the sadly breeding tensions. Skyscrapers kicks into great pretty quickly and he remains relentless. A team of the villains led by the Mansing Korea both has broken in with the highly flammable chemicals in order to steal the most MG Giffen of the MG Giffens. They should not even have bothered explaining. They should not even have bothered explaining it. The items in the question is so disappointingly inefficacious compared to the made them it the causes. But when they touch the joint, they don't realize the wild wife and the kids are still inside one of the residential until and as the flames ride higher and the higher from what being as a thing. Origin line on the 96th floor. The danger as they instantly climb with them. Of course, because it's Johnson playing his characters, he will do whatever he must to save them. Which each new obstacle that he comes his way presents a more ridiculous challenge than the last. But what novel about Johnson in this role in that he not completely but what novel about Johnson in this role in that he is not completely intersections his character uses a prosthetic leg and the film clearly used that as an assist no and the impending. Individual moments certainly stand out, with the tragedy overqualified Robert Alvis, Tom Anderson Uriel cinematography, placing us in the midst of the fairy madness, while climbed to the top of 100-story crown and his leap across the night sky to the barely through a broken window is the thrilling stage. So is his use of the due tape to A. Patch up his wound before B, placing it on his hand and feet to Spider-Man his way across the glass exterior. If you suffer from the vertigo or have even the slight fear of the heights, this may not be the breezy escape you are looking for this summer. One of the more enjoyable parts of the skyscrapers and his was also turns of the Die Hard. It's the way it's make us feel as if we are flying out the plan minute by minute alongside the four more capable hero on the screen. All thought my kid. Turn to me about their futures of the way through the screaming and the sight. I have a hard time believing this all happened in one day. Skyscrapers also provides a springly sole role of the Campbell. Sarah is never a damsel in the distress, but rather a combined trained surgeon capable of kicking her own almond of the bird while also caring for the kid hers, also caring for her kids. She also speaks survival Asian's language, which comes in the handy throughout the film. Imagine if she were the one tasked with the saving the day and her filmy and the interior building. Now that would try be thrilling. Skyscraper PG-13. If you are overcome with a sense of the DJ, you will watching the new action film Skyscrapers. There are reason for it. It's because this film is the stitch together with elements for the survival action movie you probably saw in the 80s and the 90s. Remember how popular Die Hard was? So popular in fact that a handful of action movies that follow were often referred to as Die Hard on. Peak was Die Hard on a bus. Executive Decision was Die Hard on a plane. Speed 2 was Die Hard on a boat. Sudden Death was Die Hard in a hockey stadium, etc. Some of the previous mentioned films were certainly better than other, most notable Speed, but in all cases, it was easy to see why the Die Hard comparisons were being made. This brings us to latest yarn, The Rock Jason enter Skyscraper, which is basically Die Hard in a. In Skyscraper, the own Jason plays Roche family man Will Sawyer and the FBI hostage team leader turned building security expert who literally finished himself stuck between a rock and a hard place after the massive Hong Kong-based high-rise he been working for it. List applause by a secret of the ruthless McCain was still Sawyer wife and two kids are trapped on one of the upper floor of the world's largest skyscrapers while he helpless stuck on the outside. So Sawyer does not what another loving father would do in these situations. He finds a way back into the burning building so that he might save his family. This is clearly again the Rock Johnson vehicles and this the Superman certainly has plenty of the charisma to spare. What most interesting about Johnson in this picture though is that he does not do macho, alpha male superhero action star things. Johnson is very human and is surprisingly low-key in a movie that is very far from low-key. Don't get me wrong, The Rock does get to kick ass and the dispatch bag guys here but command he is not. That's it. One of my biggest misgivings with the skyscraper is that the sphere is never giving the opportunity to beat anyone over the head with his titanium leg. Had he done that, I might have been compelled to give his movie a slightly higher rating. Skyscraper was directed by the Russian Marshall Trooper, the man behind 2004 Doorbell of all things, and that fighting because there plenty of the humor to be found in this movie. some international and some not international. Skyscraper is full of over-the-top action, predictable double cross, and the characters with the hidden agent, and it all climates in a telegraph climax that awesome more than a small debut to Enter the Dragon. Still, Trooper does not mount a few nifty set pieces, and the visual effects are not half bad. Yes, Skyscraper is the derivative, ridiculous and a riddle with the lies, but in the end, there's still plenty of fun to be had here, and a great deal of that has to do with the Joseon natural like ability as a perform. Furthermore, this flick is the substantially more entertaining than stuff like the London Has a Fallen, and it's the certainly a strong Joseon vehicles than this year. This flick is the substantially more entertaining that stuff like the London Has the Fallen, and is certainly a strong chosen vehicles that this year forgettable mother mash rappers. Review the definition features Patron More Skyscrapers by Brian Edgett, 15 July 2018. Ryan Johnson is stuck in the torch receiving action hero made ever since 2003. The rundown when Arnold passed by the rock and told the former visitor to have fun. Johnson has been putting his stamp on a familiar blend of the remarks, reward, and the return inspired adventure movie. He, the postmodern action star whose output often seems depend on nostalgia, whether it's the rating Joe Don Baker for The Walking Tall 2004 on once again cancelling for the epic size Fantastic Hercule 2014, given chosen unhideable on-screen charisma. It's unfortunately that he the chosen a state of the forgettable titles. Whether it's rethinking John Don Baker for The Walking Tall 2004 or once again cancelling for the epic size Fantastic Hercules, giving chosen unhideable on-screen charisma. It's unfortunately that's chosen a stint of the forgettable lead, chosen starting of the forgettable titles, each more enhanced than the last, for every inspire use of his talent in the Get Smart 2008 or the Mona 2016. There are dozensly and the forgettable throwaway title from the San Andrew 2016 to this year. Rampage. As a critic, I keep hoping to finally see a worthy use of the Joseon charm, but those Matic and the Elevation movie remains rare. In Skyscraper Joseon Oceans, the role of the Boars fills in the Die Hard 1988, but also Paul Newman and the Stephen MC Queen. In the disaster classic The Towering Infant 1974, similarities the production's marketing campaign attempt to weakly address through such acknowledgement hardly makes the derivative step either too shallow. Joseon play Will Sawyer, a former FBI technical soldier who started his own security company after losing his leg during a dicey pre-credit hostage situations. 10 years later, he walking on a prosthetic leg and they married to his doctor Sarah, and together they have 2 children. MC Kenner Robert Noah Cottrell. His latest gig involves providing a security assessment of the peril, a structure 3 times taller than the Empire State Building and the erected by Bachelor Zaho Longchi. The building features 30-story devoted to an indoor park, a wind-powered trombone, and an open sharp features reality room at the top, completely with 2-way cameras and the panels that inevitability make for a mirror-laden climax model after the one in the Orson Welles' The Lady from the Shanghai 1947, when a shady villain named Krios Botha arrive in the mostly empty buildings and they along with a band of when shady villain named Cross Botha arrives in the mostly empty building and along with a band of the heavily armed goons take over the 2 computer systems, shut down the safety system and set fire to the place. The authorities blame Saver. A corny cop subplot follow the personality-less Inspector Wu as he questioned whatever sphere has the mastermind the disaster. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, both are far from the magnetic screen presence of Eileen Rick Manhattan's Gerber in the Die Hard has more on his mind than the destroying the peril. He is after G's secret hard drive for the reason not worth getting into this review. But this where Die Hard has more on his mind than destroying the peril. He after G's secret and driver for the reason not worth getting into in this review. But with the Sphere family trapped inside the bending to verb, he tasted by having to scale the building in a series of the Alipro death-defying labs and the climbing sequence, there overcoming the lackness that has led to his diminished confidence. Of course, being a former badness allowed him to take down the cardia of the bad guys, doing so in mostly hand-to-hand combat because he is thrown off the use of the firearms. More impressive is a tense sequence where he must travel on the building exciter, tanned only with a piece of the rope and the rigid depict stick hand in a CGI heavy scenes that they play in the comparison to a similar albeit thrilling stunt synthetic on it. With a piece of rope and the dish tap and the duct tapped sticky hands in a CGI heavy scenes that depends in the comparison to a similar, albeit thrilling stunt centric one in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol 2011. Writer-director Raven Marshall Tuber known for the comedies like The Dog Bell, A True Underdog Story 2004 and We Are Millionaires 2030, previously teamed with the Johnson on the Central Intelligence 2016. Tuber's script delivers the sort of movie that the fulfill every requirement of a screenwriting 101 course, in the which very details introduced in the first half in anyone readers. In the second half, consider the movie grossly stupid of this plot. Convinced early on Sarah has the trouble with her cell phone and asks Will to fix it, which early detail introduced in the first half is redressed in the second half. Consider the most grossly stupid of this plot. Convinced early on Sarah has trouble with her cell phone and asks Will to fix it. He produced to talk down to his wife, lecturing her on what he told her a million times. Shut it down and restart it. Sarah, having been trained in the military where she worked as a doctor, nevertheless cannot figure this out, which is an insult to both the audience and the characters' integrity. At the rate in the dominate, the apparently tachodum, Sarah is the task with the hacking the parallel computer and of course remember how to fix technology when it's the broken, restart it. The moment is treated like a huge victory for the Sarah, while the viewer cannot help but be gone at these messes of the Campbell talented and the talk with the hacking the parallel computer and of course remember how to fix technology when it's broken, restart it. The moment is started like a huge victory for Sarah, while the viewer cannot help but groan at this massive of the Campbell talent and the otherwise smart strong female characters. Moreover, though Skyscrapers take place in the Hong Kong and the features a predominantly Chinese cast of the extra and the sporting place, the Canadian shoot resort its main role for the Western performance. Not that the movie does anything interesting with them. Truby Campbell directs the action scenes and the victory-laden sequence set atop the barrel having somehow convinced the Lantry cinematography Robert Alvis, who also photograph Ghost Protocol to shoot the proceedings, so at the very latest, the movie looked good. The production also boasts convincing expensive look CGI. That elevates Skyscrapers above some of the other B-level rivals that the Johnson has appeared in lately. These elements make the movie survivable, escape and the blockbuster entertainment, while Tuber's script spoil and the enjoyment with its third classic and the brave-faced divisiveness. Johnson, after able person, does much to make the action watchable, but the paint by number script Panders delivering only predictable, intricate twist and the turns characters without the personality. In lately, this element make the movie survivable escape and the blockbuster entertainment while tuber scripts spoil and the enjoyment with its third classic and the bare face. Determinist chosen affordable person does much to make the action watchable but the paint by number script Pandas delivering only predictable ingredient twist and the trans character without the personality and a big budget experience that contact with being on the autoplot. War Skyscraper is like watching someone play a video game starting the rock. Over the course of his filmography, Dian the Rock Johnson has had to go up against all kinds of the theaters. Genetically engineered monster, government Asians, and the Demotes are just some of the interiors that have faced his worth. But in 2018, he went to with the literally his biggest adventure yet. A skyscraper actually he fights some terrorists, but if you only look at the skyscraper movie poster, you would be mistaken for assuming it's about the rock Visa building. The die-hard SQ plot kicks off when chosen characters Will Sawyer is hired to ensure all of the security protocols for the new terrorist building in the world. The parallel are in the place as executed things quickly go away as a group of criminals end up infiltrating the tower. The die-hard SQ plot kicks off when chosen characters will swear he is hired to ensure all of the security protocols for the new terrorist building in the world. The parallel are in place as executed things quickly go away as a group of the criminals end up inflating the tower so that on some very sensitive records, putting Will and his family lives in jeopardy. But they pick the wrong building to mess with a Will as a hang set of skills that make him one-man working machine who makes quickly work of the syndicate. The good guys parallel and Will is the return with his family. But did you catch everything the skyscraper's ending had to offer? Here are some beats you may have overlooked the first time you're watching the film. Skyscraper often a parallel from 10 years ago. When Will Sawyer is still working for the FBI, he finds himself the midst of the confrontations where a man uses his own son as a human shuttle. Will does his best to save everyone involved, but the man has a bomb strapped to his chest, which denotes kill himself and his child. At the end of the movie, Will finds himself pretty much in the same situation, except in this instance, his own daughter in the human shield. Korea Both even has a granted with him future offering a parallel to the opening where if the bomber dies, then everyone around him goes down. Then everyone around him goes down too. Fortunately, Will has learned a few tricks over the years and he managed to use his surrounding to his advantage. The final conversation takes place inside the armament. On top the parallel which, as we learned earlier in the film, is outlined with the humors and the camera to give the with the mirror and the camera to give the impression of the flying over Hong Kong. Will uses his technology to make Korea thinks he is standing in front of him, when in literally he being him, ready to kick him straight off the tower, rescuing his daughter in the process. Not only it is a moment befitting a rescue action movie, but it also survives as a moment of the redemption for Will. He spent the last 10 years haunted by the memory of witness that child dying, carrying emotional and the physical scares for that fateful day. He has not just saved the day, he finally gave himself peace of mind. Even when he is not the Fast and the Furious movie, Dwayne Johnson just can't seem to escape the themes of the family. Of family. Only in this instance, it's literally about one's biological family. This is the presence at the very start of the film, where we see a father willing put his son in the harm's way to save his own life, which resulted in both of their deaths. In the hard to imagine the situation did not impact Will on a basic level, seeing as how close he with his own kids year later. Amplified in the game he plays where he asks them, Daddy loves you, to which they both respond screaming. Me protecting them is the whole reason he connecting put himself in harm's way so that they can be safe. But Will is not an Iceland in the movie. His wife Sarah helps save. His wife Sarah helped save the day as well. When Will defecated Korea, he and his daughter are still trapped at the top of the building with fire raging in the floors under them. At the bottom, Sarah has access to the skyscraper fire suppression system. Taking a cue from the earlier in the film where she robbed her phone, she reboots the system so that water finally puts out the infant, allowing the rest of the Saver family to get down safely. Sarah is not just a damsel in the distress, and her role in the family dynamic is just as important as Will. The bond they share is ultimately what keeps them going even the face of overwhelming odds. And at the end of the day, having the biggest muscular around means nothing if you can't use them to protect those you love. Dwayne Johnson is heading starting into danger in the first poster for his upcoming action. Extra Gina Skyscraper, the movie will feature the genre Welcome to the Jungle actor as a war wanted and the former FBI hostage rescue team leader who is tasked with the acting security for the skyscraper. While on assistant in China, Johnson characters find that the tallest, safest building in the world has been set ablaze and people think he did it. To make matter even worse, his family is trapped inside the building above the fire line. A wanted man, Johnson characters must go on the run while they hunted down those responsible and clear his name. Marketing for Skyscraper has ramping up, with the movie getting on the motion teaser ahead of the full trailer debut during the Super Bowl on this Sunday. For Fab, Johnson has been pumping people up for the film for a while now, and he recently praised the movie on Instagram for being and the original concept of an idea, a film not based off a franchise book, right or exacting brand. Never Campbell, Pablo Schreiber, Noah Taylor, Jane Han, Brian Man, Ronald Moller, and the Hona are also set to star in the Skyscraper, which is written and directed by Central Intelligence. Rowan Marshall Tuber Johnson will be produced alongside Thumber and the Beyond Flanky. Danny Grace and the Herma Gracia will execute produce. Johnson will produce alongside Thunder and the Bio. Flanky Dan Gracia and the Hama Circle will execute it product, while Wendy Johnson co-produced. Skyscraper hit theaters on 13 July. In this area of the major movie studio are making their sports on the release schedule years ahead of time. Is it not uncommon to know about a movie long before it's anywhere near ready to play at your local cineplex? Which means it that definitely is not too early to start making box office prediction for the rest of 2018. We have looked over the long list of the movie Hollywood has coming your way this year, and while it's impossible to tell ahead of time which releases are really going to be hits and which ones will lamp home from the box office in the defeat, the odds are definitely better for some than other. The odds are definitely better for some than other. Among the dozen of the promised product salad for release this year, here are some of the future blockbusters we are protecting to hit it big in order of their executed release date. These are the movies that are going to blow everyone away in 2018. The House with a Clock in Its Falls, 21 September 2018. Ali Roth is not really known for his kid-friendly film, but he looking to change things up with A House with a Clock in Its Wall. Based on the classic children's book by Joseph Perlier, this Gothic fried flick tells the story of the 10-year-old boy was sent to life in a quiet machine's town with the uncle, who turns out to be a work also wish next door, pulse on the apocalyptic clock, hidden in the walls of course. And things get especially tricks when our hero resident are very evil beings. The spooky movie will also star Care and is set to scare kids on 21 September. Wandering through a haunted attraction is good, honky fun, but that in one of those masked workers fighting the customer turned to be a murder. That the plot of Hellfast, a fighting flick directed by the Goja plotting, the guy who made Paranormal Activity, the ghost animations and the edit Get Out and the Happy Death Day. Hellfast follow a group of friends who visit the rural haunted house and find themselves the victim of a psychological killer. This guy is offline, he's the victim with everyone from nice to gluttons, and the police are no help because it's hard to convince those bloody bodies are not a part of the show. He will fast star a group young actor included Amy Footage, Resigned Edwards, Rex Taylor, Kristen James, Robert Attle, Matt Marquio, and the Candyman himself, Tony Todd. If you are looking for a good scare, Hellfast opened its door on 28 September. While his films don't usually get a lot of attention from the minister audience, director David Lover has been on a low-key roll since 2013 with movies like Anthem, Bodies, Pretty Dragon and A Ghost Tear. Now Lover is the reminding the pet dragon star Robert Redford, the old man and the gun, the assuming true story of the forest tricky. A 71 years old cook who escaped from the Persian and the Robert Bank after Bank, naturally Redford, will be playing the superstition scoundrel, a man that everyone, even the people he is stealing from, describe as the incredible plot. Speak will play his love interest, and the Cox, a flake, will star as the cop determined to bring him down. The old man and the gun is also rumored to be the Redford's last film, and as they become a star, charity of the bunch consider and the Sunday kids. It's only fighting that he ends with the lady's scare, planking a bank robber. A Star is Born, 5 October 2018. A Star is Born has already been to the big screen on the multiple Asians. There was the 1973 version with the Janet Cure and the Frederick Marsh, the 1954 movie with the Judge, with the Jody Grant and the James Mason, and the 1976 film The Barbie Streeton and Creeks, Christopher Now. Now Warner Bros. Is giving another go, only this time the movie will focus on the country music and it will feature some rather unique actors. Bradley Cooper will play Jason Mine. Musician Wu Glory Days are behind him, but on the way down, the meets a talented woman named Ellie, played by Believe It or Not Laugh Cake. The two quickly fall into, but Jason sees a lot of the potential in Ellie and helps her achieve fame and the fortune. But as his love interest becomes an international celebrity, Jackson starts suffering his own insecurity and the jealousy. Spotting Copper and the Gaga, we have got a rather eclectic collection of the actors like Sam Elliott, Andrew Dice Clay, and Dave capable. On the top of that, the man. Spotting Copper and the Gaga, we have got a rather eclectic collection of the actors like Sam Elliott, Andrew Dice Kelly, and Dave Campbell. On top of that, the man behind the camera is Cooper himself, making A Star is Born the actor's first attempt at the directing. They capture not the authentic feel. The production has been filming at actual music festivals like the Coachella and the Globe, and better still, Gaga is writing the music for the film. The movie is theater on 5 October and honestly we are pretty excited to see Galma Nota tackles her first role as the leading lady. Skyscraper 2018 putting the wrong foot forward. 5 years ago, if you had told me that Diane The Rock Johnson would be the highest paid, most reasonable movie star in Hollywood, I would have laughed in your face. Stitch had just come out and the critics were saying it for his face. What's saying it? What his best performance to data? For everyone that has seen Stitch, this must have seemed like a back-end compliment. Not only it is a dull, lifeless movie, it is the center around a dry and the uninteresting performance. Still consider The Rock and not Dwayne Johnson, serious actor. 2013 was a different time. Now we're live on another planet where Marvel has turned the action blockbuster into a sure thing and the Dwayne Johnson has managed to detach himself for The Rock. Every now and then, though, a movie comes along that brings us crashing back to Earth, a movie so tonated deep. Johnson serious actor 2013 was a different time. Now we live on another planet where Marvel has turned the action blockbuster into a sure things and that Dwayne Johnson has managed to detach himself from The Rock every now and then. Though a movie comes along that brings us the crashing back to earth, a movie so tuned deep and the so tuned deep and the misjudged that we remember a time long ago, a movie that remember us of The Rock and the snitch and the awkward build-up to his point. That movie is the Skyscraper. Skyscraper follow Will Sawyer, a security exec hired to review security for the tallest building in the world. When he and his family are put up in the false building never made, he assume nothing can go wrong. However, when terrorists start a fire in the building in an attempt to roll, Skyscraper follow Will Sawyer. Johnson, a security exec hired to review security for the tallest building in the world. When he and his family are put up in the safety building never made, he assume nothing can go wrong. However, when terrorists start a fire in the building in an attempt to roll our engagement billionaire Zaho Longji, Will and his family are the cage inside between a raging fire and a group of the violent Mercy Crane. If that the take list your fancy, then you are by all estimate pretty normal. Hell, I like the idea of it. The review describing it as a mix between the two wearing informed and the die-hard did not hurt either. The problem is if you describe a movie as a being like two cult classes, it has to live up to not one but two other. Better film Skyscraper. If that takes your fancy, then you are a by all estimation pretty normal. Hell, I like the idea of it. The review describing it as a mix between the two wearing informed and Die Hard did not hurt either. The problem is if you describe a movie as being like two cult classes, it has to live up to not one bite to other. Better film Skyscraper does not. Not only it is the groundless with the little thought put into it, beside but senior can be solved by muscular filming and the axis volumes, but it seems designed for Johnson inside of the written to enter. There is the argument that these kind of the action film are supposed to be the mindless but the plot of the struggle. Otherwise, you see, there is an argument that these kind of action films are supposed to be the mindless, but the plot of the struggle. Otherwise, you can see Sway is an attempt and the interesting development and piece of the characters that at first add a hidden depth usual boarding alpha male meets lab that the populates this kind of film around the halfway point. Though this developed into a coach ironically, his lack is used as a plot point, a way to get him out of situations, not as a way to emphasize his extreme struggle. It does not do so much come of a disability but as an upgrade, forgive me, in thinking that the most attempts did not have to working lamp and just decide, no I want not. No, I want one made out of the Temu because I can use it to hand off the building feed. Director Rosen Marshall Tuber of the Dog Bells fame take a shoot at same more high oceans. Fair here, but the action is probably the most sporting part of the film. Oddly enough, the film works best in the quiet moments when Sphere is with his family, friends, or just talking a moment to recover from his money. Both of Lee-Fo. Neve Campbell fits nicely as wife Sarah, a tough in her own right military surgeon. She worked well enough for me to wonder why I was not watching a film where a single mother had to do all this. That would be a film I would happily watch. Now I may be overselling why not to watch Joseon Ladies because it does have a certain switch off and go appeal. But in the end, I found it hard not to notice callback to other films when the trouble. Also, the writer here goes stuck and needed a get out of the jail free card. Too often does the film harden back to Small Jackson the Natagoria or the touring inform. In fact, I found it hard to see Die Hard here. Something I was thankful for the after stitching through final score, but in avoiding the obvious callback he has stolen from other plays, something the average movie viewers want, mind but some things I found executed and the particle lazy. Ultimately I would say they can be fun. Had here but not the kind that ladies 90 minutes or even any time after. Ultimately I would say they can be fun. Had here but not the kind that ladies 90 minutes or even any time after that. This is the footable cinema that really was not needed or asked for. Cinema that really was needed or asked for. A film out of time that the harkness back to Joseon's earlier career. Skyscraper is the old news before it even starts. Whatever it was, international or not, it's kind of the shame that the new Dian Joseon vehicle Skyscraper is the being released on the eve of Die Hard 13th anniversary. It's a film that will inevitable draw comparisons to Hard. It's film that will the inevitable draw comparison to Die Hard, but on the eve of the film's 13th birthday, it's nearly impossible to ignore the comparison. The circular nature of the Hollywood machine is an interesting thing. Since its release, Die Hard has become a trope in itself, often being used as a word to beach a film quickly Die Hard on a plan. In the case of Skyscraper, it's a film that is literally Die Hard, just doubling down with a much trailer. Fantastic building that is also on fire. Ultimately, though, the comparison stopped the Skyscraper premium. It actually has more in the common with the two-night inform. That is, unless you are drawing for the similar between the two films. Regardless of this, a big part of why I had so much fun with the Skyscraper was the fact that it did not try to be the Die Hard. It's clear from the one is that writer-director Russell Marshall Tuber is not interested in breaking new ground with the Die Hard on a X-drop, but rather paying loving homage to it. Considering that the Tuber Wellhouse in the past has risen in the comedy world with hits like We Are the Millionaires and The Central Intelligence, I will be the first to admit that I was usual of the Tuber ability to craft a compelling summer blockbuster. Lately, Tuber has not only created a very entertaining piece of the popcorn entertainment, but the director has also managed to strike a tone with the Skyscraper that the thoughtfully writes the line between being a serious action film and a sticky take on the various tropes that the action film. Yes, Tuber's screenplay is the derivative, but it's a completely told story that has a blasting piece, the latter of which is the circums to the film's success for a decoration perspective. However sympathetic the story may be, it's the performance by Joseon and the nation treasure have the capable that the scenes in the film without Joseon and the capable in the lead. Skyscraper could have easily been watchable. Almost all of the characters are paired then, but it's Joseon and the capable chemistry that they ultimately enter the film enough to enjoy the film and give you something to root for. With capable in the particle, it's really great to see an active female character that is surprisingly passed the Behold test, the latest in a series of the Chinese co-production with the Hollywood studio. Skyscraper is also all the most successfully Hollywood film to integrate the Chinese landscape and the culture in recent money. It's honestly really refreshing to see female actually being key to the plot, even though characters like Hunam ultimately amount to nothing. Characters that happen kick a lot of the ass in the Hong Kong set story. As much I bought into the journey that our two main characters get themselves thrown into the skyscraper really suffer from its the luster sporting characters. Although the screenplay wasted souls sporting play such as Pablo, Noah Taylor and the Baran Man is the film mind-lang of the Romando Molinar Valinance, terrorist Korea bot that proves to be the supplement frustrating in concept the characters of the boss should. As much as I bought into the journey that our two main characters get themselves thrown into, skyscrapers really suffer from its the luxury sporting characters. Although the screenplay was not so sporting plays such as a Pablo and Brian Man, it's the film mishandling of the Ronaldo Moller villainous terrorist Korea both the proves to be suprematically frustrating in concept. The characters of boss should be a really fun twist on these archetype, but he just ultimately comes off a lazy written villain with no actual depth, just the perception of it. As a matter of fact, most of the characters' motivations are half-baked, and in the case of the Joseon, Will Sawyer this the manifest itself in the form of the characters that will do literally anything to save his family. It's an idea that they carries the character forward throughout the film, but also one that feels hollow and the unearned in a certain respect. The character often make decisions that are so ridiculous hard to ignore that thinking about it too much will make your mind hurt. Without getting into spoiler, the MC Guffin of the film is a magical table that has the ability to control the security system of the interior building. The idea that the fact of what would easily to be the single most expensive of the architects to never be built thinks a single of a piece of the technology that can fit in someone's pocket is absolutely insane to me. While the logic of this vital plot device is certainly abused, the restoring of the terrorists invading the building is even more so. Trooper's screenplay is wonderful, ill-convinced at many points such as these, but the film still managed to work as a breezy summer movie that survives as a fun homage to the action genre. This is not to say that Skyscraper is a bad movie, it's just that it's a hyper aware of what it is. While some people will see this movie as the ludicrous filmmaker instant play and the important part in how to digest a movie like this, if you go into the film looking for a realistic take on how and the already outlandish building might be attacked by the terrorists, you are sure to be the let down convincingly if you go into the film just looking for a crazy movie where the rock attempts to jump from a computer generated corner to a computer generated building. It's actually a lot of fun. In many ways, Skyscraper feels like the tuber attempts. This is not to say that the Skyscraper is a bad movie, it's just that it's the hyper aware of what it is. While some people will say this movie as the ludicrous filmmaker instant play and the important part in how to digest a movie like this, if you go into the film looking for a realistic take on how and the already outlandish building might be attacked by the terrorists, you are sure to be the let down convincingly if you go into the film just looking for a crazy movie where the rock attempts to jump from a computer generated camera to a computer generated building. It's actually a lot of fun. In many ways, Skyscraper feels like tuber attempts to recontextualize the genre for a modern area. However successful you think that this is attempt may be, you have to give credit where credit is due to one of the only blockbusters that are based on a pre-established property. It's refreshing to see what Kubrick has crafted with what is the essentially a hyper of all of the action film tropes possibly in film that full embrace the inherent silence of its the concept, but never really making this the promise in terms of trying to be more than advertise itself as. While Skipper is the certainly not an original film by any means, it will be considered enough to write on the unhidable nature of the Dwayne Johnson charisma. In this respect, Skyscraper is exactly what it needs to be a fun but survivable summer blockbuster. Fire in the sky. Credit where credit due. Skyscraper delivers what it promised. Admittedly, this is because the only thing it's the promise is green screen, shots of the Dwayne Johnson previously hanging off the edge of thing as the CGI fire dance in the background. But it is damn good CGI fire the best increations of the sort of the VFX vaccines the magnificence in form of the 2016 Deepwater Horizons. There is not I need hardly mention any sort of decent narrative justifications for this particle CGI fire, but if you are to have shitty popcorn movies, at least they can be sufficient, guilty and the guide to be the enjoyable distracting. Beyond well-rendered pixels and the bacterial Skyscraper is a pretty joyless, slow falling in the cloning sediment. Joyless slow falling in the cloning sediment half of chosen filmography instead of the much more pleasure. Update cam half. It is exactly the horizon of the working in form and the die hard that is the look like with the unexpected addition of the log outside of the computer system. Screen from the Georgia Park. It is the story of the former FBI agent Will Johnson who masculated in a hostage situations 10 years ago, leading to go the loss of his leg. But it's okay because that how is Maddox military doctor Sarah never capable with whom we now has to level children Georgia, MC Kenner Roberts and Henry Noah Control. He also has a small business doing risk assessment and his former colleagues ban his bull strides with his new boss Zhao Longqi to get Phil the job giving the final once over to Zhao record-setting Skyscraper. The parallel a 3,000-foot striper rising out of the central of the Hong Kong, beans up to no good, bean ups to no good though. He arranged this also that will up and the receiving a biometrical inconvertible that gives him absolute control over the parallel elaborate high-tech security system and them end up losing the table to a team of will end up receiving a biometrical end up table that give him absolutely control over the parallel elaborate high-tech security system and then end up losing the table to a team of the cyberizations led by XCI and she doing this to enable a team of much more old-fashioned terrorists led by Korea Both, who are using waterproof fire to set the 96th floor of the parallel ablaze. And when Shai crack the table that the fire smoke certainly not going to remain confected the 96 men while Sarah and the kids are on, like the 97th floor and Will is on the run from the cops. That's all the first half. The second half is the where we get to die hard, though with a twist. Since Sarah has the military train herself, she has the more than enough skill to keep herself and the children alive. And at a certain point, she escaped to match with Police Inspector Wu remains so convinced that the will is inflated with the terrorist, though he considers that it would make no sense if that were the case for Will to have gone so such extraordinary length to break into the filming Skyscraper. It's a pretty awful script that the writer-director Raisin Marshall Tuber has put together for us. But this is the fire movie he ever made. That's a not comedy. So literally sufficient is. No, it's literally stiff. For one thing, it's hard to imagine a film that sets up more first act guns to fire in the third and they all get fired, included one that would surely have been better remaining on the wall. The ostensibly cute movement that lets us to hear the rhythm of the sphere marriage finds Sarah forcing Will to fix her phone by turning it off, then back on again, and this is the made a big enough deal that is the pretty clear that is something. Set up more first act gun to fire in the third and they all get fired, included one that would surely have been better remindedly on the wall. The constantly cute moment that lets us to see that rhythm of this fair marriage finds Sarah forcing Will to fix her phone by turning it off then back on again. And this is made a big enough deal that it's the pretty clear that something will get turned off then back on the again as part of the climax. And I mean the film is the ticket skyscraper. So stuff like that and about literally everything. The first 30 minutes of the 102 minutes future seems to have been considered entirely of seats for later plot points, and it's still doing it well into the second act, though generally for things that will be paid off within 10 or so minutes of having been set up. This is a fatal flaw, given its instant refusal on the every doing anything original skyscraper is the already a bit boring and the predictable. When that's compounded by the screenplay constantly waving its plot point in front of the viewers and asking if we get it yet. The film basically feels like it has already been watched, disgusting and forgotten before we ever get around to it. Everything feels foreign in the most grim, perfectory way with no sense of the surprise or the amazement even once. Obviously, we know before the film even starts that neither will nor Sarah, nor their children feel lost. That's not how popcorn movie work, but the film still does have and the obligation to keep us guesses and to present action sequence that is suggest in the moment that life and the death hang in the balance. Skyscraper set pieces all included their eventual outcome packed into the star. Like a poorly designed video game, their one good bite, then Sarah has to cross on the narrow board to rescue Noah and then cross back, while Will holds the skyscraper together by pulling very hard on two chains. Otherwise, the action is just boring, and what on earth is the point of that? Anyway, the whole thing is very dull and useless, though not entirely without the competitions. The CGI work is the great, and so it is the dramatic red lights that gives everything the aura of an obligate helicopter country of the slimming master cinematography Robert Alvis. The scenes between Campbell and the man are the surprisingly good, offering a human scale counterpoint to the rest of the film and the entering the best acting in the film. Their antagonist pairing is the spy in all the best way, and it's the pretty short. The one critics a modern popcorn movie need to remind Stewart on my good side. Ironically, it's possible that the skyscraper would have been better if it was longer. Some more times at the being to let us appreciate the building in all its the splendor might have given that the latter scenes any kind of the concept rather than. And it's a pretty short one the charismatic modern popcorn movie needs to remain somewhat on my good side. Ironically, it's possible that the skyscraper would have been better if it was longer. Some more time at the beginning to let us appreciate the building in all its the splendor might have given the later scenes any kind of the consent, rather than the peril just being that place that the coach of fire almost as soon as we go inside of it. But still not very good. The best case scenario for this material is a derivative dumb exercise in watching Johnson flex, and it turns out of the worst cases scenario is the much as the same. Skyscraper 2018. Anyone who read any of my movie review over the years know I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I love a good big dump action movie. So you did think that me loving Skyscraper and the unapologetically big dump action movie starting Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson would be a gift, yet I did not love it. In fact, for much of the loud, explosive fire logic and the reality define proceeding I was bored. Genre action directed Ryan Marshall Tuber, actor Dwayne Johnson, Neve Campbell, Jane Horn, Ronaldo Moller, Noah Taylor, Brian Mann, Pablo and Hannah. Years 2018. MPAA rating PG-13. Country USA. Johnson starred as Will Sawyer, as a former FBI agent and the military vet left in the attempt after a working hostage rescue mission goes army, now resistant to a comparatively more Trump life a security expert and the family man, series the attempt by his former partner Pablo to access the security system of the world's newest, tallest building, a soaring over-high-teach 240-story structure in Hong Kong named the Parallel, with only one more box office to ticket on the Yap. This thing's super sexual checklist fair and the Parallel authentic country are suddenly together by a criminal mastermind who wanted to destroy the interior building by disabling all its security features, included the handy anti-fire technology and burning it to the ground, bones flaming and off-site. The Yep Things super secure checklist fair and the perils are suddenly targeted by a nondescript criminal mastermind who wanted to destroy the interior building by disable all its security features, included the handy anti-fire technology and the burning it to the ground, bones framing and office sites were for the whole things to boot, to Bert's fair wife and two kids. Fast than you can see. Check your brain at the door. Skyscraper sets logic and the reason a puzzle and has fear risking life and the artificial lamp to get back into the two wearing informed to rescue these family by and means necessary, and those means involve plenty of the parallels moments that tapping your brain at the door. Skyscraper sets logic and the reasons a puzzle has a sphere risking life and the artificial lamp to get back into the two working informed to rescue his family by and means necessary, and those means involve plenty of the perilous moment, that defying stunt and the look away if you have vertigo poof shots from very high in the sky. Unfortunately, a lot of what happens in the skyscraper feels pretty familiar, and some of the sheer techniques have been employed better in the other movie. Goes in plot, his approach to climb the exterior of the barrel, which draws heavily from the crew scaling the Burj Khalifa in the Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. What should have had audience jaws legs instead felt like a bite of the knock off as well. The film Pepper thinks plot feels like an afterthought too. Unfortunately, a lot of what happens in the skyscraper feels pretty familiar, and some of several techniques haven't been employed better in other movie. Cause in point, his approach to climbing the exeter of the barrel, which the bros heavily, but not that well. From the curious scaling but the Burj Khalifa in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, what should have and the audience chose leg instead felt like a bite of the no. As we have the film Paper Things, plot feels like an the afterthought to the non-stop running and the fire and the heroic, which grow tiresome by the time the film hits the halfway mark. Some of the casting was also a problem. Campbell and the Johnson have zero romantic chemistry and give off more of a brother-sister. Some of the casting was also a problem. Campbell and the Johnson have zero romantic chemistry and give off more of a brother-sister vibe. I did not believe that they have been married for a decade or that either one had any kind of powerful bond with their kids. Noah Taylor has a completely pointless throwaway role that could easily have been left on the cutting room floor, and then there the strong materials SQ female assistant with the debit dialogues who seems to survive no purpose whatever except adding one more once upon volumes to the film. And make no mistake, the film is the violent. Plenty of the innocent characters are moved down for no decent reasonable, which may surprise movie viewers think the movie is going to be a family-friendly adventure. And make no mistake, the film is the violent. Plenty of innocent characters are moved down for no discernible reason, which may surprise movie viewers think the movie is going to be family-friendly adventure. The only thing Skyscraper really has going for it is its star, who remains charming and likable even when surviving up per material, which the not less do is his best to sell. And for a movie like things, that might just be enough through all the over-the-top action and the epic set pieces. Johnson still managed to take out Some laugh and the critic are sympathetic. Some laugh and to create a sympathetic characters for whom viewers, both on screen and off, will undoubtedly cheer. Skyscraper 2018 movie review. Chances are that you already know. If you wanted to Skyscraper, it is the 1980s style action film with a poster featuring Dwayne Johnson helping Presley from a building. There is a much mystery has toward the appeal of the film art. Name an action movie, and it's the somewhere in the bones of this film. Terrorist jacks the World Tallest Building in Hong Kong. It is 3 times taller than the Empire State Building, setting it on fire. Trapped inside are Will Sawyer, Johnson wife, and 2 children. We must break into the building, evade the terrorists, and come out with the family instant. It's that kind of movie. It's the type of movie. It's the type of movie that ignores logic, breath ironic throughout its runtime, and hope that the action will have enough steam to cover the scenes. The simplicity of the plot makes for a dull first 2 acts. Every line of the dialogues in the first 15 minutes of a movie is a piece of expositions used to set up twists and the turns later on. It is endless teddies and then bodies start hitting the floor. Fast again teddies. What does prove effectively where most everything else in the film does not. In the high altitude set pieces in which The Rock laughs himself in or out of a very tall building. As a person who is a fear of the heights, I can say that the way the film captured depth worked to add instantly to the deadly scenery. That said, the palpable scenes that falling is a possible is not matched with the scenes that such a result would happen. The danger that is the conjured in these scenes are not exacting or novel. Many a time the shocking trend of that said, the palpable scenes that falling is a possibility, it not matched with a scene that such a result would happen. The danger that is conjured in these scenes are not exacting or novel. Many a time the shocking turns of the events involve a piece of the building that is the sporting a character's weight is suddenly washed out of place, and it never feels from a plot standpoint as if Sway could not actually plummet to his death. Skyscraper is dull, and it's the dumb. In an early scene, Sphere is the show the highest floor of the building, which is more or less a half of the mirror attraction. Sphere comments on how amazing the room is, even though there is not much to it other than, well, mirror of course. This scene is so honored is so that the room can serve its the purpose as a location for action later in the movie. The magical news chopper that can capture every moment of the action as it happened is there to rile up and the onlooking audience because it is the only rap audience the film is the liable to receive. The magical police van. The magical news chopper that captures every moment of the action as it happened is there to rile up onlooking audience because it is the only rap audience the film is the liable to receive. The magical police van is the privy to enter piece of the knowledge they need to have regardless of the possibility, and the magical frog grow in the instantly right as the film needs it to become a danger force. Otherwise, the film is just die hard with a marriage problem. There's something to like about Skyscraper. The alt 80s about training your brain off to enjoy a summer blockbuster comedy to wind comes to mind. As much as I do not agree with the perspective, to their set pieces use the Panamans building to good effect. Otherwise, it is an the empty action accents without characters, with or intelligence. The expectations of seeing the poster is about the same experience as you will get watching the entire film, only the film takes 100 minutes of your time. Why or the intelligence, the experience of seeing the film poster is about the same performance as you get watching the entire film, only the film takes 100 minutes of your time.